Catherine Dillahunty.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Tēnā koutou ko tēnei pō. I would like to just congratulate the member who put up this bill, Nanaia Mahuta. I think that she's a person who has a long tradition of working for communities, understanding the needs of the people she represents and caring about what happens in the education system. And this is a narrow, effective and just piece of legislation that should go through. If it doesn't, it just shows the double standard that she mentioned in her speech. But really, I found the previous speakers from the National Party and ACT don't seem to understand the concept of transparency in a modern constitutional educational framework. The point, my friends, of having the OIA and the Ombudsman is so that when things go wrong, that there is somebody who is a higher, independent voice who can check on behalf of the vulnerable and maintain democracy and transparency in education. And that's why the Ombudsman came and said that the full provisions of the Ombudsman's Act should apply. I know this is a serious issue, and I know this bill matters because I receive many calls from people who are struggling in the state system as well, but at least in the state system they can say to me, will you write an official information request to the school about this child of mine who has experienced abuse or exclusion or something very serious? And yes, I do that. And yes, that can be done because it's state money and it should be held to account. And it's also a state institution that has to respect the human rights of the students. But for some mad reason, completely unjustifiable reason, these schools that when it suits them, they're state schools, when it suits the government, are not subject to these provisions. I can say, without exposing more detail, that there are people who have contacted me whose children are in charter schools who are experiencing the same kind of vulnerability and they cannot use the Ombudsman or the OIA and they want to. They have no redress through the system because Nanaia Mahuta's bill is not law yet. And it's fine to talk about quarterly reports. I read those quarterly reports. It's got nothing to do with potential human rights abuses. They don't appear in the innovation jargon of the education sector reports on charters. So why is the government and the ACT Party so keen to sacrifice the rights of our children? It's extraordinary. The stories that come to me are deeply painful, and they tell me that some of the charters are doing no better, in fact, worse, because they are subject to less scrutiny, which makes these children who are supposed to be priority learners, who are supposed to get all this benefit, and they have no protection under the law. For shame. These children deserve better. And as we heard at the State Committee today, there are many reasons why we need scrutiny of these schools, charter schools, because we heard today that some charter schools' results, when they claim 100% achievement, turn out under the Educans methodology to be 60% achievement. It's Mickey Mouse education if it's reported wrongly. That's about achievement statistics, but even more significant is when things go wrong. And God knows Whangaruri was a disaster for those students whom everyone on the government side seems to have forgotten about. A disaster for those kids. And these parents who approach me and ask for help, they do not have this natural justice, this redress that other state schools receiving state funds do. It's just wrong. And it's just unfair. And I'm very disappointed if this bill is not supported, because we need to protect the rights of our children, the most vulnerable, in all of our schools, not just the public schools that are open to the OIA and the Ombudsman, but particularly the privatised, contract-based ones. The previous speaker made an argument how the contract protects. The contract protects nothing. The contract protects the concept that education is private business that we cannot hold to account. That is shameful. We need to hold all of it to account, and we need to support this excellent bill. Kia ora tātou katoa.